Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a car that needs no introduction. Many reviews have already been done, articles written. Well, I help people find cars, and upon our search, we found a rare specification of the VW Polo GTI. Yes, a rare Polo. And I wanted to share it with you because this car will never exist ever again. And why do I say that? Well, have a look.
This manual, the fun gearbox.
Now, onto the car itself. Most of the exterior was faultless. There tends to be leaks, though I found none on the standard panoramic sunroof. I only found 2 real dents along the rear, but those skeet and jump wheels barely had any curb rash or damage. They felt balanced. I hardly see used GTIs with matching wheels though, but brake discs had wear that resembled the mileage, but did have good meat left on the bone though. Guys, I will agree that the newer AW Polo GTI is a definite step up. I'll have one on test soon on the channel to properly confirm. I hope you subscribe though. Though this was the last hurrah for the manual Polo GTI. And what actually made this car rare was that this gearbox option wasn't even offered for a very long time. It was one of those where there was both a manual and automatic on offer. That was the plan though. The manual option was offered in the second half of 2015, but seeing that people preferred the 4T direct shift gearbox, or DSG for short, VW just simply stopped making them and cancelled the manual gearbox for this car going forward further into the future models like the AW. The 7-speed double clutch had its reliability issues. This one simply didn't. You had a clutch, a gear stick, and your left limbs to do the dancing. Simple. Now, let's have a quick look at the specs. We had a 1.8-litre turbo 4-cylinder, delivering 141 kilowatts to a 6-speed manual gearbox, taking 320 Nm of torque to the front wheels, which was about 70 Nm more than the DSG option, with a claimed fuel consumption figure of 6 litres per 100 kilometers. Realistically around 8 litres per, but it was really right foot dependent. The Mini Golf features an interior that is truly a pleasant place to be, for its class. Even the steering wheel is the exact same unit from its bigger brother, the GTI, the Golf GTI. And what also makes this spec we're looking at special is the lack of dials on the AC. See the digital screen? Dual zone climate controls. And up above you'll see a sport button, which this car responds to by firming up the suspension and throttle response, and heated seats came standard too. In a Polo from 2015 no less.
We've got 105,000 kilos on the clock. Not bad. For the condition of the car, actually, it's not bad. And guys, this car comes with this really nice feature. These. It's on the other side as well. You get this. But most of them break, so yeah. Otherwise, full infotainment.
I don't like to use infotainment as a deciding factor to buy a car, especially on older models that still use the DIN system. More on that later, because you can always go aftermarket. But for those interested, here I was checking proper functionality of all the buttons and if it responds to my inputs as it should, because the systems tend to freeze or lag, but this one was good. You'll also see me waving my hand testing the proximity sensor that engages other menu options when a hand is near. We also had rear parking sensors on this, a CD player, an SD card reader, and mirror link, where you could mirror your phone's display on the vehicle's touchscreen. Updated models also included CarPlay. Finicky at best, but I will be honest with the vehicle information display, that is actually kind of useful. You get consumption figures and all that good stuff.
Audio quality was actually rather commendable as well. Really good. And all bass.
Manual cars tend to be abused by driver habits, so I had a look at the gear linkages. I felt them out, shifting into all gears with the engine on and off, checking for any crunching, thrust bearing, pressure plate or clutch wear. And this one was perfect. I also checked the sunroof from the inside, and the rear seats look like they've been barely used actually. It was a really clean car. The sunroof barely had any markings on it. This car, in my opinion, is when the Polo GTI really started becoming more of a Golf. And besides the interior, it's also because of the engine. A smaller version of the EA888 Generation 2. Besides sharing a code, the engines are so similar that as an upgrade, you could fit the turbo from a Golf GTI or the Golf R. So on back to our car's engine. This was still a consultation, so I grabbed my torch and I started checking. Now I know EA888 engines always develop leaks around the top PCV and plastic part areas. Where I found the first issue was the cam sensor area. There was a lot of oil sweat, and I suspected the seals or the oil filler cap. It's so small that one could drip some if they don't use a funnel. Because the engine seemed to operate optimally, the turbo was clean, there was no noise of bearing or shaft play, and I thought this would be a very good segue to some of the common faults and failure points of this car. And these will also include the DSG with regard to engine and suspension. Some of the common failure points will include stretched timing chains, high oil consumption due to thin piston rings, carbon buildup due to the direct injection fueling system, and the water pump and thermostat are made from plastic and they tend to start to get brittle and fail at high mileage. And you also had ignition coil failures. Now, most of these issues are actually a thing with a lot of VW cars, but we'll get into that a little later. But right now, specifically for this one, these are the ones. So I went a little further and had a look at the radiator area just there by the cooling system. And I found something special just as I was going and tracing with the light. Just behind the lights, just behind the headlights, I could actually see a lot of overspray. Yeah, so this car had been resprayed before because I was a little skeptical about the mileage. 100,000 kilos but barely any damage on the front bumper. I will admit though that the guy who did it, fantastic job. Look man, if I find this dude, I would love to work with him. But the dealership actually had said that the car had never been resprayed, and this is where I took it a step further and actually asked for the car's papers. Turns out, We Buy Cars is the previous owner of the vehicle. We Buy Cars Durban, hence the number plate as well, because I had a lot of questions about the number plate, and I know dealerships buy cars from other provinces and all that good stuff, but this one bothered me because of the mileage and the damage that is not there. Usual damage. Granted, it was done really well, but yeah. It's safe to say that we didn't buy this car because I found a couple of things wrong with it. The paint was off, it was resprayed, there was oil leaks, but we ended up buying something else. The same guy you see in the video, I'll be doing a full review on the next car that we bought. The one that he actually fell in love with. Anyway guys, this car was just a reference. I just wanted to show you guys a manual Polo GTI because I had a chat with a couple of people and there were people that actually couldn't believe that VW made this car in the South African market. But they did, but only for the second half of 2015 because sales were low, nobody wanted to buy one, and well, yeah. So we'll never get another Polo GTI in manual format. We will never see this recipe ever again. Even the newer AW, the Euro spec is all DSG. So guys, I would love to thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. Please drop a like. And if you like the content, man, please share it. I'm going to be doing a lot more honorable mentions like this and used car reviews. But this one was just something people could look back onto and say, hey, we had a manual Polo 6C GTI.